Hello dear Libra, something terrifying is happening right now, and you can feel it. This message is not random. It's your confirmation. Somewhere deep inside, your soul already knew, the moment of karmic reckoning has arrived, but not for you, for those who tried to break you. This is not just a tarot reading. This is a sacred download from the universe, meant only for those who have walked through the fire and still chose peace. Those who gave love where there was hatred. Those who forgave without ever receiving an apology. Welcome to Zodiac Whisper Tarot, where we don't just interpret cards, we decode destiny. If you're here, it means you're ready. The energies that are being revealed in this reading are not soft, and they're not subtle. Because this time, Libra, you're not being called to fix anything. You're being called to rise. To watch. To witness what happens when divine balance finally steps in. Let me ask you something. Have you felt an unexplainable tension in your body lately? Have you noticed that the people who once tried to control you are now losing control of everything in their lives? Have you sensed something shifting not just around you, but through you? Libra, the scales are no longer tipping against you. They're locking into divine position. Justice is here, and this time, you are not the one standing trial. What's unfolding behind the scenes is karmic and irreversible. Those who once smiled in your face but cursed your name are now crying in the very hell they created. Not because you wished them harm, but because they violated spiritual law. They tampered with the energy of someone who was never meant to be touched with dirty hands. You. And now, while they collapse in the chaos of their own design, you Libra are stepping into a frequency where only truth, alignment, and peace can follow you. The old cords are cut. The masks are falling. And what remains is the real you, no longer afraid to shine. You are not here to fight anymore. You are here to embody. And the moment you choose to trust what you feel rather than explain what you see, everything shifts. So take a deep breath. You are safe. You are not here by chance. You are being guided. Now let me take a moment to thank you sincerely for being here. Every like, every comment, every share, every subscription doesn't just support this channel, it deepens your alignment with a spiritual community that speaks your soul's language. Your presence fuels the light behind Zodiac Whisper Tarot, and I honor you for that. And Libra, you're going to want to stay with me through the very end of this message, because what the universe is about to reveal is nothing short of breathtaking. The truth is unfolding, and it's time you see what was always meant to be yours. If something about this moment resonates with you, if your heart feels seen, then don't just watch quietly. Leave a comment and write, "I claim my light, and I trust the timing of my awakening." That's your way of affirming what your soul already knows and stepping through the doorway that's been waiting for you all along. Now, let's begin. There are moments in life when silence speaks louder than confrontation, and this is one of them, Libra. What's happening right now may feel unsettling, even surreal, but I want you to know, it is not your burden to carry. You are not the one breaking apart, you are the one witnessing the breaking. And that makes all the difference. The truth is surfacing not as a weapon, but as a cleansing force. Those who once manipulated your kindness, who distorted your image behind closed doors, who made you question your own worth under the guise of love, they are now facing the energy they projected outward. It's not punishment. It's not karma fueled by vengeance. It's simply the rebalancing of energy, a natural law that requires no courtroom, no arguments, no defense. The universe has its own sense of order, and right now, Libra, it is moving powerfully in your favor. This moment isn't about revenge. It's about recognition, spiritual, emotional, and psychological. The individuals who once seemed untouchable are now tangled in the very web they spun. But their unraveling is not yours to narrate. It's simply yours to observe, and more importantly, to release. The presence of justice in your reading is more than symbolic. It is a declaration. What was unfair will not remain unresolved. The High Priestess reminds us that there were things, hidden motives, secrets, intentions, but they are no longer cloaked. The star affirms your healing. It signals that while others collapse, you are recovering your shine. The devil reveals the truth about the cords that once held you hostage: addiction to approval, to illusion, to cycles you thought you needed. And the Hanged Man invites you to see it all differently, from a place of detachment, of growth. Finally, the world confirms, a chapter is ending, fully and completely. You are free. There is wisdom in letting consequences play out without interference. Sometimes, when we step back, we give life the space it needs to align what's been out of order. In that space, you find peace, not because others are suffering, but because you are no longer tied to their chaos. You've done the inner work. You've broken the pattern. And that's what makes this different. This is not about superiority. It's about sovereignty. The kind of quiet strength that comes from knowing who you are and who you no longer need to be. When we learn to stop chasing closure, we invite divine order to step in, and that is exactly what is happening here. You are being reminded that peace is not passive. It is earned. And you, Libra, have earned yours. While others may try to retrace their steps back into your life, remember, your path forward is not paved by apologies. It's paved by alignment. As you continue to rise, they will feel the weight of their own choices. But you? You are no longer caught in their storm. You are becoming the calm they can't touch. It's written not in scripture, not in stone, but in the vibration of truth, that when you choose light, when you choose integrity over impulse, grace will follow you. Not because you demand it, but because you embody it. And that grace, Libra, is what's protecting you now. Let it. If you've been questioning whether it's okay to let go, whether it's okay to stop explaining yourself, whether it's okay to not engage anymore, take this as your confirmation. You've outgrown the narrative of being misunderstood. You're not here to prove your worth. You're here to live it. So stay centered. Stay quiet when needed. Stay radiant. Because while others cry in the hell of their own design, you are walking through the gates of your own becoming. Sometimes, the loudest shift happens in silence. Not in arguments or revenge, but in the stillness that follows when truth is no longer hidden. Libra, this is where you are now, in the sacred space where masks are falling, and the performances that once controlled the narrative are unraveling on their own. You're not seeking justice anymore, you've become the reflection of it. You don't have to expose the truth, it's revealing itself through energy, through consequences, through the undeniable weight of integrity. People who once manipulated your emotions, pretending to love you, holding on to you not because they valued your soul, but because they fed off your light, they are now confronting the reality of what it means to lose not a person, but power. They didn't just lose you. They lost the hold they had over you. And sometimes, that loss feels more devastating to them than any visible separation. Because what they really miss is not your presence, it's their ability to control the version of you they needed you to be. But now, that version is gone. Not because it was weak, but because it was never truly you. You were simply surviving in environments that didn't support your true expression. You were adapting in order to preserve peace. But peace that comes at the cost of your truth isn't peace, it's performance. And you, Libra, were never meant to perform for acceptance. The beauty of this moment is that you don't need anyone to validate what you feel. You've already sensed the collapse. You felt the shift in the air, the distance in conversations, the confusion in their energy. You may even feel empathy because watching someone self-destruct can still stir compassion. But compassion doesn't mean returning. It means recognizing that we all must walk through our own fire to learn what it means to stand in truth. What's happening now is not your downfall, it's your release. This is what happens when clarity arrives. This is what happens when the fog lifts and people can no longer pretend they didn't know what they were doing. And as uncomfortable as it might feel to witness from a distance, it is not your responsibility to fix what's being dismantled by truth. In life, we are often taught to turn the other cheek, not because we are weak, but because there's power in choosing not to match the energy that tried to break us. There's wisdom in allowing what is false to fall without our interference. As one sacred reminder teaches us sometimes, the best response is to stand still while the storm passes, knowing that peace is not the absence of conflict, but the presence of clarity. You may feel the need to question your distance, to explain your silence, to soften your boundaries. Don't. Not now. Not when you've come this far. The people who are facing their own unraveling must go through this without your energy as a cushion. This is their wake-up call, not your invitation to return. Your job now is to honor how far you've come. To trust what you sense without needing proof. To keep walking, even if others try to pull you back into roles you've already outgrown. This is the moment where you choose integrity over familiarity, alignment over attachment, and trust over explanation. The truth always comes with a cost. But it also comes with a clearing. And in that clearing, Libra, is where you find yourself finally free to live, not through stories others created for you, but through the strength of your own becoming. There's something quietly powerful about no longer being accessible to what once drained you. Libra, this part of your journey is not about shutting people out, it's about elevating your vibration so fully, so honestly, that only those aligned with truth can even recognize your frequency. You're no longer the person who stays out of obligation, who explains themselves to be understood, or who compromises their peace to keep false connections alive. And while part of you may still grieve the loss of familiarity, a deeper part of you knows this shift was necessary. You were once tethered by the hope that people would eventually see you clearly. That if you just loved hard enough, were patient long enough, or proved your worth loud enough, they'd finally choose to treat you right. But the universe doesn't want you to keep proving yourself. It wants you to remember yourself. You don't need to convince anyone of your value. The people meant for you will feel it without you having to sacrifice yourself to be seen. This energy of separation you're moving through isn't rejection. It's redirection. It's a divine refinement of your environment, where false resonance falls away and space is made for truth to enter. You've been sealed off, not because you're being punished, but because you're being protected. Protected from cycles that no longer reflect your growth. Protected from energies that would rather confuse you than grow with you. And in this space of protection, something beautiful is happening. You're relearning what it means to be whole without external validation. As you rise into this new energetic field, you may find that your body is more sensitive, your dreams more vivid, your intuition more immediate. That's not coincidence, it's confirmation. Water dreams, the sound of rainfall, unexpected clarity in the shower, these are all ways the universe is gently showing you that you're being renewed. Water, in astrology, is the element of emotion and spiritual purification. When you dream of it or find yourself drawn to it, it's a sign that you're releasing old emotional debris and stepping into emotional sovereignty. Your colors, deep ocean blue, misty white, and metallic silver, carry meaning too. Blue calms and clarifies. It supports truth-speaking and inner peace. White represents spiritual clarity and mental stillness, while silver connects you to your higher wisdom, sharpening your intuitive edge. When you wear these colors or surround yourself with them, you amplify your alignment with this new frequency. And let's not overlook the numbers that have shown up in your field: 6, 9, 11, and 21. Each carries a vibration worth acknowledging. 6 speaks to harmony, balance, and nurturing the very values you've upheld, sometimes to your own detriment. 9 is the number of endings and spiritual maturity, marking the closure of an important chapter. 11 is a master number of intuition, insight, and alignment, an invitation to listen to what you feel, even when it contradicts what others say. And 21 symbolizes fulfillment, arrival, and elevation. You are closing a cycle and stepping into completion, not because others finally came around, but because you finally walked away from needing them to. You may be surprised how peaceful life becomes when your boundaries are no longer porous. When your soul stops whispering, "Please stay," and begins affirming, "I'm ready." This is not about arrogance. It's about clarity. You've always been soft, but now your softness is surrounded by strength. You are not untouchable because you're cold. You're untouchable because you're clear. And clarity, Libra, is the most powerful protection of all. Not all loss looks like death. Sometimes, the deepest kind of loss is the loss of influence, the inability to control what once responded, the severing of access to a space they used to occupy freely. Libra, what they're losing now isn't you. They're losing the version of you who once tolerated their manipulation, who tried to see the good even when it was buried under deceit, who extended grace long after it stopped being earned. That version of you was real, but it was also conditioned to believe that peace was only possible if you made yourself smaller. What's happening now is a spiritual disconnection, an energetic collapse of what they once fed off. Their power over you wasn't ever really power, it was permission. Permission you gave because you were loyal, hopeful, or simply not ready to believe that their intentions weren't as pure as yours. But clarity comes in waves, and now that you've stepped into your truth, that permission has been revoked. The energetic door has closed. And that's what they're feeling. It's not a physical absence, it's the absence of control. When people lose the ability to manipulate you emotionally, they often respond with panic. They may reach out with familiar scripts, with empty apologies, with recycled promises. They may even try to mirror the very healing you've done as a way to draw you back in. But you're not the same person anymore. You've walked through fire. You've peeled back layers of illusion. And now you know, you were never here to be saved by them or to save them. You were here to learn. And you've learned enough. Letting someone face the consequences of their actions without stepping in to soften the blow isn't cruelty, it's wisdom. It's what we're asked to do when we finally choose love over fear. Love for ourselves, love for our peace, love for what's next. And fear? That's what tries to convince you to go back, to explain, to rescue. But this time, you've chosen something higher. You've chosen stillness. And sometimes, stillness is the strongest answer. In astrology, Libra represents balance, fairness, the desire for harmony. But true harmony cannot exist without truth. When you were holding everything together, trying to be the peacemaker, you were sacrificing your voice to keep the illusion alive. And now, by removing yourself, you've allowed real justice to unfold. That is what this moment is. Not vengeance. Not punishment. But the natural result of energies realigning after being imbalanced for too long. Think of this like gravity. When something rises that shouldn't, when it's held up by illusion or manipulation, eventually, gravity will pull it back down. And when it does, it's not because someone pushed it, it's because it couldn't sustain itself. That's what you're witnessing now. A fall that was always inevitable, not because you wanted it, but because the foundation wasn't real. There's a quiet strength in stepping away without burning everything down. A strength in not proving your point, in not waiting for them to understand. You've outgrown the need to be understood by people committed to misunderstanding you. And that liberation? It's what they feel now as loss. Not the loss of your presence, but the loss of their access. That's the death they're experiencing, a death of power, a death of illusion, a death of ego. And while they struggle to process it, your only job is to keep moving forward. Gently. Quietly. Powerfully. With grace in your hands and peace in your chest. You're no longer in the business of saving people from the storms they called in themselves. You are the calm after it. You are the proof that healing changes everything and not everyone can follow where you're going. And that's okay. Sometimes the most powerful statement you can make is no statement at all. Libra, your journey has not been about proving your worth to others, but about remembering it within yourself. There is something sacred in the way you've chosen silence over reaction, peace over pride, and walking away over staying to convince someone of your truth. It takes strength to pause instead of push, and grace to surrender when all you've known is resistance. That is not weakness. That is mastery. You've been the answer all along, not because you had something to prove, but because you carry something within you that can't be taken, borrowed, or replicated: clarity. While others scrambled to be heard, to be right, to dominate the room, you sat still and waited for truth to settle like dust, because you knew the truth doesn't shout. It reveals. And now that it has, you don't need to explain why you're no longer available to confusion, manipulation, or chaos. You simply aren't. That's your answer. In astrology, Libra is the archetype of the peacemaker, not because you avoid conflict, but because you understand the cost of holding on to what no longer aligns. Your soul's evolution has taught you that peace doesn't come from fixing others. It comes from healing the part of you that once felt responsible for everyone else's healing. And now that you've stepped back into your own center, the world feels different, not because it changed, but because your boundaries did. There's a quiet elegance in the way you've realigned your life. You don't need closure from someone who still speaks in circles. You don't need validation from those who only saw your reflection, never your depth. What you've chosen is deeper than release, its transcendence. And people may not understand how you got here, but that's not your task to explain. The path you walk now isn't about being understood. It's about being whole. You've likely heard it said that we're not here to fight the darkness, we're here to be the light. And you, Libra, are a living embodiment of that. You've carried burdens no one saw, stayed silent in rooms that didn't deserve your voice, and poured kindness into places that couldn't hold it. But still, you didn't lose yourself. In fact, you found more of you in the stillness, in the heartbreak, in the letting go. That's the real story. Not the drama of who did what, but the grace you showed in how you responded. Even when it was hard, you remembered something sacred, that your peace is not a prize someone else gives you. It's a path you choose daily. That's why, right now, you don't need to seek signs. You are the sign. You don't need permission to feel proud of how far you've come. That peace you feel, even if it's subtle, is the reward. Not loud. Not flashy. But steady. Enduring. Yours. And if a part of you still wonders whether it's okay to move forward without looking back, let this be your permission. You don't owe your past a return visit just because you were once loyal to it. Loyalty without clarity becomes bondage. But now, you're free. And the freedom you're experiencing isn't accidental. It's the result of every moment you chose light in the face of shadow, patience in the face of pain, and love when it would have been easier to hate. You don't need to do anything more to earn what's coming. You've already done the hardest part. You didn't let the world harden your heart. And that, Libra, is the real miracle. So if this speaks to something deep inside you, take a moment and affirm it. I do not seek revenge. I am protected. And I am being guided by the highest light. Let that be your declaration. Not because you need to prove anything, but because your peace deserves to be heard. If you're still here with me, Libra, it's because your soul has already said yes to your healing, yes to your truth, and yes to the life that's waiting for you on the other side of this shift. You didn't come this far to keep explaining yourself to people who never intended to understand you. You came here to remember who you are when you're no longer carrying the weight of someone else's story. There's something extraordinary about the quiet strength you're building now, the kind of strength that doesn't roar, but resonates. You no longer need to negotiate your light to make others comfortable. You no longer need to apologize for being clear, for setting boundaries, or for choosing peace over chaos. This isn't about being better than anyone else. It's about being better for yourself. And the truth is, that's what the universe has been asking of you all along. So the question I want to leave with you is this: what will you do now that you're no longer available to who you used to be? What version of you is finally ready to rise now that the noise has fallen away? What kind of life would you build if you stopped waiting for permission and just started? Remember, you are not behind. You are not late. You're right on time, standing exactly where you need to be for everything to begin shifting. The moment you choose alignment over attachment, the universe rearranges itself in your favor. Not because you begged for it, but because you became the vibration that matched it. So here's my gentle encouragement: start with the small things. Nourish your body with foods that bring clarity and lightness, cool, cleansing ingredients like winter melon, centella, or fresh green juices. Take a look at your finances not from a place of fear, but from a place of energetic awareness. Where are you leaking your energy? Who or what continues to draw from your well without replenishing it? It's okay to stop giving where there's no reciprocity. In love, give without losing yourself. Let love flow, but never at the cost of your own radiance. You are not required to shrink to be held. And when it comes to your daily practice, I encourage you to begin every morning with just 11 minutes of stillness. Breathe into your center and quietly repeat, "I am in the right place, at the right time, with the right soul." Let that affirmation become your compass. If you've made it this far, it's not by accident. It's because you were meant to hear this. You were meant to reclaim your energy, your time, your voice, and most of all, your future. You're no longer walking through the fire. You've walked through it, and now it's behind you. Let the ashes fall where they may. You were never meant to stay where things once burned. You are the light, Libra. And light doesn't ask for permission to shine. Before you go, I want to thank you sincerely for being here. Your presence supports not just this space, but this community of souls rising together. Every like, every comment, every subscription to Zodiac Whisper Tarot helps this light reach further. If this message touched something in you today, I invite you to share it, to speak it, or simply to write below, "I choose peace. I choose clarity. I choose me." Let that be your way of honoring what you know to be true. Because in the end, the truth is simple: you are not what happened to you. You are who you became despite it. And who you're becoming now is unstoppable.